Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This time around we're starting a new build series of the Extreme Flight 78-inch Extra 300 EXP version 3. I got that right. Let's get to it. So, I know what you're thinking already. Firstly, what, another build? Yeah, it's another build. Secondly, another extra? Yeah, I know it's another extra because we've already got the two 104-inch extras, big red and big blue. We've got the extra NG, which we built quite recently, which you've seen. We've got the 48-inch extra. And of course, we've got the crud extra, not forgetting that bad boy. So we've already got 5, but in fairness, this one isn't for me. This is another club members build. So we're going to get on with it, we're going to unbox it, I'm going to show you components going in there, and then we're going to make a start. Okay, so I'm going to try and find a camera angle that works here, or doesn't work. We'll see. Let's take the lid off. Oh yeah. Move that down the end. Okay, so we have canopy cover of the wings. Let's start there. Oh, I do like this colour scheme. So there's the first wing panel. Version 3 models, everything is pre-hinged. Nice, and the covering is wrapped nicely inside the hinge line. Lots of movement there. Servo hole mount positions, and we've got a tube inside as well to run the wires. And of course it's quick release as well, as you can see from the bolt there. It's a quick release onto the fuselage. Very nice. Those up on the side. Stay. We have the tail section. Let's take one of these out. And again, guys, hopefully you can see that. I can't actually see the camera right now. Yeah, there we go. You can see that. Again, all pre-hinged. But it's pre-hinged, but it's also just a good quality, you know. These aren't quite all ready to fly. You've got to do a tiny bit yourself with the horns. Quick release, carbon at the end. Massive elevator on the extra. Right, what's next? I need my stand out to get that one up. I have a sticker pack and some instructions. That's interesting to see they've put instructions in there. It's Extreme Flight are moving away from that. In the last 2 models I've built, they've just put a single sheet in there, which basically says the instructions are online, they're on YouTube, go and watch them. So I will open that up and see what's actually in there, because this looks like the same build process as the last model I built, which was the 78-inch Extreme Flight Edge. So stickers, we'll talk more about stickers later. Got the almighty rudder, which is the only control surface that you do have to hinge. Well, it's half hinged already. And I think the only reasons it's not fully hinged on the model is for transportation in the box. That's okay. We can get that hinged, get that glued in. 2 horns there, so it looks like the only option on this is for closed loop on this size model. On the bigger ones you can put the servo down the end and have pull push rather than pull with closed loop. So we're doing that later. Move that out of the way. Get my stand out. Okay, so let's get the fuselage out. Or not. What's going on with my knife? What is wrong with me? Unboxing the model. There we go, guys. I'll do a close-up of that shortly. It's finished to such high quality in the covering. I don't think I could cover this well personally. No, I know I couldn't. But yeah, quick release system. We'll have a close look at that shortly. Once I've managed to put it on the stand and make some space. Alright, stay there. Running out of space, Matt. Okay, undercarriage, get that out for a minute. Just keen to get a few of these bits out to make some space. SFGs, so the side force generators. If you notice, they're slotted. So these are also fairly quick release. You don't have to undo the screws all the way, just partly undo them, slide these in, slot them across and do screws back up. Really nice touch. It's all going wrong. The hardware pack, we'll get that out in a minute. Just keen to get rid of this box. Aha, and the cowling. Right, I'm going to put that on the side, get rid of this box, make some space, then I'll give you a close-up. Okay, time for the close-up. So here we have the fuselage. Canopy currently still has the protective cover on. I'll move that at the end of the build. Quick release system, not the front but at the back on this model of this size. Just slide and then locks into place by going into the hole. And also quick release system on the tailplane as well, on the stabiliser, although I will say the stabiliser with the servos do fit inside the fuselage, not stabiliser. So although it is quick release, you still have to undo one of the rod ends to be able to slide the tail section off. Let's have a look under the canopy. So there we go, front section. Got these reinforced carbon fibre rods which go all the way through to the front and come out here for extra strength and stiffness. This is like a carbon fibre skin on ply, I believe. It's not full carbon fibre. Yeah, you can just about see it there, but still very nice and very, very light. Lots of holes cut out there already for you, A for lightness, but also for things like tank straps or battery straps. Wing tube. Here's one of the quick release systems. What I like about these, so you literally pull it out and slide it upwards, and then you can put the wing will go through this hole here, and you have to slide it back down to lock the wing in. But the nice thing is this piece comes up. The reason why that comes up is it stops you put the canopy on. So you can't put the canopy on unless you've locked the wings back in. So really nice, because there has been some instances where people they've not had that part, and they've forgotten to slide this down, flown off, and of course the wing panels come off. So that will prevent that. There's your main tray there for other components. Just be our receiver and our UBEC going in there, and of course the servo for our closed loop system will go in this hole here. Through the fuselage there are some openings that we will be opening out. On this model it's only in the rear section there. So that is to allow air to get out of the model. We'll vent those to basically cut out each of the slits, and we will be opening up this hole here, this panel, and sitting the ESC here to allow the air to go through the ESC and escape out the fuselage. But I'll show you that when we get to it. Nice Extreme Flight sign there. So that's the fuselage. So we swing over to the bench. Let's start with rudder, you've seen already. Cowling, you've seen already. Tail section there was mentioned, that's all pre-hinged. Pre-hinged wing panel as well. Moving on, we've got spats, all pre-sprayed. Bolts already sunk in there as well. Single bolt to hold those on. And you have the wheel cuffs as well, or the undercarriage cuff rather. Showing you how I attach these. Tail wheel, rather nice carbon fibre. A whole accessory pack here. So everything you need this model hardware wise is there. So you've got the wheels. You just take out some of the packs. What I like is everything's labelled in smaller bags. So there are your Cowling canopy bolts. That one's not labelled, typical. That's not labelled, typical. Everything that's really important is labelled. Stabiliser parts, but you get the point, so it's easy to find. So as soon as you want to work on stabiliser, just get this bag out. That's all your rods and bolts. Okay, carbon fibre undercarriage still there. SFGs, as I said before, slotted. I'll show you those when they go on. We'll be using a Falcon carbon fibre prop on this, and this is a 2010 propeller. Super nice if you haven't seen these before. I use these on pretty much all my models, well, most of them. Nice balance, ready to go. We'll be using the Extreme Flight servo heads, which are as recommended by Extreme Flight. And again, I've said this many times in my other build videos, but if you go onto their website, scroll down to the bottom, you get the spec sheet, and you also get all the parts list. It lists exactly which size you need to get the right amount of movement as per their setup. Not guided by, but I have Savox servos in here, standard SV1270 TGs, which is what I use in pretty much all my models as well, of this size. And we put in the X-Power 40cc in this. So going slightly higher on the motor, but it's a direct swap out for the 35cc. All the holes and alignments are the same. Slightly heavier, but it'd be absolutely fine. And then we've got the matching spinner as well, because why not? This is an optional extra, but definitely worth buying. I mean, it's absolutely great quality. I'll just give you a closer look when we get that out of the box. So they are, that is the components. That is the unboxing. I'm going to crack on now. Let's get this first wing panel done. Okay, so we have the first wing panel out, and we've located the main wing fixtures and fittings. So it really is a simple case of putting the horn on and fitting the servo. Let me just open this up and show you. So separate bags in each. Bolts we'll cover on shortly, but these are the horns that we need first. So it's basically doubled up, so 2 for each wing, and that is so that the ball joint, you can just see that, yeah you can go in the middle. What you have is a plate. Plate goes on like so, and these slot through the plate. Let's do a dry fit. And just zoom you in. There you go, so these just slot in. The ball joint will go in the middle of those, and of course the servo at this end, and the servo head will be facing the leading edge. And that's really all there is. So what our process is now we know they fit, take them back out. I will use this as a template to mark around the base. I'll then cut away this covering, pull that away, and that'll give me a better surface to stick this to. I'll rough this up slightly as well, and that'll be face down. And I'll also rough up with a bit of sandpaper these horns just to allow the epoxy to stick in. Now you can use 15-minute or 5-minute epoxy on these, or longer if you want to. I've been using 5-minute and never had an issue. The epoxy will ooze all the way through them plenty of time. But one tip is though, when you're putting these on, is to make sure, I'll show you here actually, is that the base, the horn, sorry, sits all the way down onto the base, because if they're Put them both on, show you close to the camera. Oh, there we go. Because if they're out very slightly, if one of them's very raised at the back, you'll get a misalignment. And you have an issue putting the bolt through and you have to re-drill. So make sure they're sitting flush at the back and at the front, and then you can't go wrong. That's obviously when it's on the wing. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and just get this done, get this epoxied up, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So there she is, guys, all glued up. Just going a little bit closer for you. You can see the plate sits nicely. This was a piece of covering that I cut away, which I've just left there to show you. That means that the base plate can stick directly to the aileron rather than to the covering. Some people don't do that, they just stick straight on top. That's absolutely fine. Some people don't use epoxy either, they use other glues. That's absolutely fine as well. This is just how I do it. So next up, we're going to get the servo fitted. Make sure the lead's long enough to come out to the root, and then connect it up. So guys, before we put this servo in, for me that lead's not really long enough. Some people would make do with that, but I'd rather it just a little bit longer. So I'm going to use just 100mm servo extension lead. These ones do have clips on them, which is really nice. So when you lock it in, it just clips and locks into the back, so it's really difficult to get them apart. But even though they've got that, I'm still going to put, just for safety, some heat shrink over the top of that, so there's no chance that can come apart. So there is the finished wing panel really. So the servo's in place. I've not put the centre screw in at the moment or done up the bolts on the head itself because I haven't centrised the servo. But you can see the rod's in play and the horn's in play as well, and it's all done up. Now don't worry if the rod's at an angle like this, that is by design. So when the servo goes to its full extent, the rod should be pretty much straight, which it is now. Plenty of movement there. Okay, so I'm going to get the other wing panel done and then I'll show you the horizontal stabilisers. So guys, we have the tailplane out here, the stabiliser, and it's the same process really, except this time we're not fitting the servos. Because this is the 78-inch version, the servos don't go inside the stabiliser, they go inside the fuselage, or on the fuselage, on the outside really, which I'll show you when we do those. So it's just a case of putting the horns on exactly the same way, using the plate to cut a hole, gluing them in with epoxy. We've got the rods we could attach, but I don't want them swinging around and possibly denting the stabiliser, so I'm going to leave those until we do the fuselage. So that's it really, just a quick case of gluing these in. So I'll do that now and show you the finished look. So there we go guys, both horns on the horizontal stabilisers are glued, and that's really all we have to do to those at this stage. Guys, when it comes to fitting the rudder, it's pretty much the same build process before, with a slight difference. We do start off with fitting the horns, but on this version 3, they've actually changed the horns. They used to be the same as what we've just done on the stabilisers and on the wings in the last video. They've actually changed them now to these single piece that slot all the way through. And they do give you the optional wooden parts as well. I believe that's what that's for. I've never used those. If you do know what those are, I mean, in my understanding is this, you can use the wood or you can use these. If I'm wrong, please put a comment below so let everybody know. But we're going to be using these. So I guess the first part is to make sure that they do a dry fit, make sure that they go through okay, make sure the plates go on okay, and we'll do the same process where we mark them and we cut out the covering so we stick directly to the wood underneath. So I'm going to go ahead now and just dry fit that, but just also note that they are keyed. So there's one part which is very slightly longer, so I'm going to put them that way around. So one locks in one way, one locks in the other way, which kind of makes sense to me. And of course they face forward. Don't put them on facing backwards, because again, that's going to make your life difficult later. They definitely face forward towards the hinge line. Right, I'll get them fitted and then I'll show you. That was hard work. It's done, but wow, that was a messy job. Now I don't know if I was doing it wrong or what, but putting those through with epoxy out, obviously epoxy gets on the other side, then you end up with your fingers and you're touching the rudder. So I've got it on there, it is right, and I've just a tip for you guys, just make sure the holes are lined up. Grab a drill bit or something or screws put through, so when they are going through, you make sure the holes are still in line. It's very easy to get that wrong. But it's on there now and it's all cleaned up, it's good to go. So we're now going to dry fit it to the fuselage. When I say dry fit, just no glue, just making sure that these go in properly and you've got a nice gap between the fuselage and the actual rudder itself. Let's do that now. Okay, so another little tip. You want to just check these hinges actually fit in before trying to do all four at the same time. You can just do that by turning it sideways and just double checking the depths right. As you can see, this was a little bit tight. If they are too tight, just use a drill bit. Just use a drill bit by hand just to go in there and remove any burrs or bits of glue that may be left around, and that should be enough to free it up. So I've done that on these two. They were a little bit tight, the other two are absolutely fine. Now for the first time it should be able to go straight in. Great, perfect. It's in, and that's actually a nice gap, and we've got plenty of movement there. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to pull that back out. I'm going to apply glue into this. Pull it out now, actually. So I'm going to flood these holes with glue. I'm also going to put glue on the hinges as well, using 5-minute epoxy, but I'm only going to glue up to this line here, so the last of the ridged lines. That's because I don't want too much glue around the actual hinge itself. Obviously there will be a bit, because I'm putting glue in this way. But if I glued the hinge all the way to here, I'll definitely get it on the hinge, and that'd be a bad day. So that's my process that works for me. I'll do that now, and I'll show you it fitted. I've got glue in the holes. You probably can't see the rudder at the moment, it's on my lap. And again, just a little bit of glue on each of the hinges, top and bottom, just on the front. First two. It's always the hardest to do stuff when you're filming, trust me. Also, I wouldn't normally be holding it in there like this, I'll be doing it on the bench. And there we go, that is plenty of epoxy, so let's get rid of that. And I'll offer it back up. Start at the top. Get it in there quick before it all drips off. And don't worry if you're getting glue everywhere at the moment, because we are going to wipe it all off, especially that bit in the middle there, it just comes oozing out. So hold it about there. I'm going to use my alcohol spray, which I always use to clean up epoxy, fit onto a tissue, and we'll just get that drip that's there, fold it over, let's get some others, give it a little wipe around the hinge line there, so as I said, I don't want glue going on the actual hinges pivot point itself. And we'll push that in, because this is 5-minute epoxy. That's gone in nice and tight. Just make sure the gap's about the same all the way down. I want about 1 mil gap all the way down, which is about there. Actually, the rudder's not quite lining up, so let's put it out a little bit further. No, I don't like that. It's about there. Front of the rudder's lined up nicely. So what we'll do now is we'll just clean up the hinge line with some more of that alcohol spray. Just around the hinges as well. Appreciate you can't see it from that angle. But bear with me because I'm working pretty quick. Let's go to the other side, there we go. So I'm going to clean it all up to make sure there's no epoxy on the rudder, and then I can check that gap again. Which is just moved out very slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape it. So you've probably seen me do some videos before, but just use some masking tape to keep the rudder roughly where you want it. Keep the gap where you want it, and that's what I want mine. Let's do a bit on the top as well, so the top doesn't pull out. And that's it. Drying at the moment, but there we go. I've got about a 1mm gap pretty much all the way, and we shouldn't have any glue on those hinges at this point. So while that's drying, let's crack on and thread the closed loop through these little closed loop outlet holes here. What's nice as well is I've actually put some tubing just on the inside down to the first former here, so it can come in and away from the fuselage and down towards the front. So I'll thread that in and we'll fit this servo at the same time, which will go down here somewhere. That's right in that hole there, and I'll show you what it looks like. Hey guys, so I think we're pretty much at time for this video. I like to try and keep them fairly short, half an hour absolutely tops. So please come back and join me for the next video, part 2 of this build series, which will be basically finishing off the fuselage and hopefully applying all the graphics as well and setting up the model. So we've got lots to get on with, but it's pretty straightforward, so I'm sure we can get it done. And also please like and subscribe. It makes a big difference to me. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as well, otherwise you won't get notified of the new videos. I'm doing about 2 a week at the moment, so there's plenty coming through. I'll see you next time around.